Have you ever been so invisible that even your silence went unnoticed? Emma Carter was just a secretary, quiet, efficient, easy to overlook, for years. She existed in the background of a world that prized power, not presence, until one night, in an empty office, long after everyone had gone home, she did something completely out of character. She danced, alone, barefoot, no audience, no applause. On just one woman remembering what it felt like to be alive in her own skin. What she did, to know, was that her billionaire boss saw everything. The next morning, she was no longer invisible, but not in the way she imagined. Gossip, surveillance, accusations, fired for a moment of freedom that was nash tium meant to be seen. And then came the hardest question: if someone offered you love, but it cost you your reputation, your job, your safety, would you still choose it? This is Neiso Tomdebafo, a story about scandal. Itidafo Tafos about two people who were never supposed to find each other, and what happened when they did. If you've ever wondered what it would feel like to be truly Sina, stay. This story was written for you. The office was never meant to feel like home. It was all glass, chrome, and controlled temperatures. But on that particular night, as the city whispered outside and the last elevator had long since sighed shut, it was the only place Emma Carter could breathe. It was nearly 9:15 meme. The rest of the building had emptied hours ago. But Emmy Aujo, like most nights, remained. She was now on technically required to stay. Of course, her boss, Ethan Grant, had dem du tm teat assigned any tasks past 5, but habit and something else, something unspoken, just kept her at her desk far beyond what anyone noticed. That was the nature of being invisible. At 36, Emma had learned to blend in expertly. She was the kind of woman people called "oh, kuyit," with a half smile and never thought about again. Her wardrobe was muted, her voice soft, and her movements efficient. She handled schedules, calls, travel, crisis management, all with precision, but she did it quietly, and that made her easy to forget. She liked it that way, or at least she used to. That night, her heels were already off, tucked beneath her desk. The silence of the executive floor wrapped around her like a soft coat. She walked to the large, unused conference room across the hallway. The space still held the scent of expensive coffee and boardroom anxiety. Folders left open, chairs slightly askew, the remnants of a long day for people more important than her. She did plan on doing it. Not really, but her fingers, almost on their own, reached for her phone. She tapped the Bluetooth speaker. A small blink of blue light greeted her. Then came the scroll. Not to emails, not to text threads, but to a playlist she had opened in years. Whoa, Ella Fitzgerald. Someone to watch over me. Her heart hesitated. Her grandmother had adored that song. Emma could still picture her in their tiny kitchen, apron tied loose, stirring soup while humming softly. That was long before the world became hard. Before Emma learned to armor up, she hit play. The first soft piano notes floated through the room like memory. Emma closed her eyes. Her blazer hung over the back of a chair. Her bun loosened hours ago. For once, she allowed herself to exist beyond function. She moved gently wayu, just a step, a half turn, then another. Not like a dancer, not like someone performing, like someone remembering. Her bare feet slid across the polished wood, toes brushing the cool floor, arms lifting slightly as if pulled by something older than sorrow. She twirled once, then again. A soft laugh, barely audible, escaped her lips. She didn't timtiat to see the shadow in the hallway, not until it moved. He had no mo meant to return. Ethan Grant, 42, founder and CEO of Grant International, had come back only to retrieve a forgotten folder. His nights were normally reserved for workouts, market forecasts, and meticulously prepared dinners he rarely finished, but something told him to stop at the office again. Some unresolved thought, some itch he could now tiu name. He exited the elevator quietly, expecting nothing but darkness and the hum of security lights. Instead, he heard music. And when he stepped past the tinted glass of the executive boardroom, he saw her. Not Emma Carter, his dependable, unshakable assistant, the one who never complained, never stumbled, but a woman dancing alone like no one had seen her in years, like no one had bothered to look. He did move, did nub to him to speak. He just stood there, with a briefcase in one hand, jacket slung over his arm, watching her as if time had stopped. She did what notice him until her final spin brought her to the door. Their eyes locked. Emma froze mid-step. The music played on, cruel and unrelenting. Her breath caught, and her face flushed a crimson so deep it almost shimmered in the low light. I did daim. I know anyone was still here. She stammered, reaching for her phone, fumbling with the speaker. Why was just cleaning up. It wouldn't happen again. Ethan said nothing for a moment. His gaze didn't shift. Then he spoke, voice low, thoughtful. You danced? Emma swallowed. Yes. Tim, I'm sorry. I did. You, Tim? You don't know Tom to apologize? He interrupted, softly, as though the words surprised him too. She blinked, unsure whether this was confusion or kindness. He wasn't known for either. I should finish up, she said quickly, gathering stray papers into a stack, trying not to shake. What was the song? He asked. She paused, glancing down. Fitzgerald. She said. Yeah, grandmother used to sing it when I was little. He nodded slowly, then glanced toward the window. Oh, she had good taste. Ah, Emma offered a small, puzzled smile. Oh, thanks. He stepped into the room. Not toward her, but toward the folder he had come for. Still, his presence filled the space like a storm threatening rain. As he gathered his things, she moved to leave, but his voice stopped her once more. Oh, you remind me of someone, he said. She turned. Someone I used to know, before I forgot how to feel anything. Emma didna, TM, respond. What could she possibly say to that? He looked at her then. Really looked, as if seeing someone behind the employee ID. And just before he stepped out the door, he added one last thing. Next time you dance, Donna. TM, stop. Then he was gone. And Emma, still barefoot, heart pounding, stood alone in a room that suddenly felt much too small and far too full of something she had felt in years. Hope. Emma Carter arrived early the next morning, as she always did. The world had changed overnight, at least not on the surface. The lobby still smelled like fresh polish and designer perfume. The elevator still dinged too loudly. The office floor still hummed with quiet tension as employees settled into another day of unread emails and unsaid thoughts. But for Emma, everything felt different. Team Maid D barely slept. The memory of the night before played in her mind on a loop. The spin, the stumble, the look in his eyes, and those words. Next time you dance, don't out team. Stop. Xiao. Team M did heard Ethan Grant speak hundreds of times before, in meetings, on calls, in clipped, calculated instructions, but never like that. She reached her desk at 7:25 am, 5 minutes earlier than usual, though no one would notice. She powered on her monitor, adjusted the angle of her chair, and stared blankly at the screen. By 8:15, the office was in full motion. Phones buzzed, shoes clicked on marble, assistants whispered into headsets. And yet, Emma could no shake the feeling that somewhere in the corner of the room, the air was still humming with last night at Tom's music. She didna, meet Tom, see Ethan, not in the first hour, not in the second. She wondered, had it meant nothing to him? Had she imagined it all? A lapse in judgment on a late night that he would forget by lunch. At 10:43 her inbox chimed. Subject, briefing notes from Ethan, Grant to Grant Intel. Com message. Could you drop by my office at noon? Bring the updated investor slides. Bades. I. Her heart skipped, just enough to be noticeable, not enough to admit out loud. At 11:58, she stood outside his office door, notes in hand, breath shallow. She knocked once. Come in. Came his voice, calm, as always. Ethan sat at his desk, tie loosened just slightly, sleeves rolled up. He looked up, and for the briefest second, something flickered behind his eyes. He said, nodding. Thanks for coming. Oh. She walked in, quiet and steady, as she always did, but inside, her thoughts spiraled. He gestured to the chair across from him. She sat. I wanted to go over a few numbers before tomorrow. A temps meeting, so he said, reaching for a pen. But also. He paused. Emma waited. About last night. Oh, he said finally. She looked down at her lap. Oh, it was a mistake. I shouldn't. Team? No. Oh, he said, not sharply but firmly. Am. Not what I was going to say. She met his eyes then, and he did not look away. AUI came back for a file. Oh, he continued. AUI, the only reason I was there, but what I saw, it was out that it went a mistake. It was honest. Emma felt her breath catch. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. You've worked here for almost 3 years. He said. You never take vacation. You stay late. Arrive early. You keep everything running. And you are already done. Never really. Hero. He stopped. Why? Never asked why. Emma hesitated. Then, in a voice softer than usual, she replied, I guess I did no tempt. Want to go home to silence? He nodded, slowly. I understand that more than you think. He said. They didn't, speak for a moment. The office noise outside faded into a distant hum. For the first time, Emma noticed a photo on his desk. Not a corporate headshot or award, but a black and white image of a woman in a dance studio. Mid-spin. She looked young, radiant, free. Oh, your mother? Oh, Emma asked, gently. Ethan followed her gaze. Oh, yes. Oh, he said. Oh, she used to be a ballet teacher. I have, no, TM. Looked at that picture in years. He picked it up, thumb brushing the corner of the frame. Oh, she danced like the world didna. Tigbim. T scare her. I always admired that. Emma smiled, faint but real. Oh, maybe that. Team mams. Why you stop me from apologizing? Maybe. Oh, he replied. She stood then, the folder still clutched in her hand. Oh, whoop-ay. Tamao, what's... Update the slides and send them before 3. Whoa, she said, professionalism returning like a familiar coat. But before she could leave, Ethan said, What, Emma? She turned. Oh, I saw you last night. Not the assistant, not the reports or the routines. You, and I realized, I don't, Team Blanc really know the people who keep this place moving. I don't, Team T-Sa know you. But Team Dale, like to. Emma blinked. That is, he added quickly. I'll wef that do, Tim, something you what tell be okay with. She did not Tim T answer right away, but something in her eyes shifted, something soft, willing. I think I would like that too. Wow, she said. Then she left as quiet as ever, but with a strange warmth unfolding quietly inside her chest. She was no longer invisible. It was a simple message, tucked among calendar updates and reminder emails, that appeared late the next afternoon. From Ethan, Granton Tull, com. Subject dinner. Oh, would you join me this evening? Just dinner? No business. O.E. Evie Woe. Emma reread it 3 times. She was standing in the break room, refilling her mug with lukewarm coffee. When the notification popped up, her hand froze mid-pour. She glanced around. No one else was there. She clicked it open again, just to be sure she hadn't misread. But there it was. Clear. Unambiguous. Her pulse jumped. She set the mug down carefully. What did it mean? Was this a kind gesture? A peace offering from a lonely man who, tapeed, caught her dancing, or was it something else entirely? And why did it matter so much that she couldn't, to breathe for a moment? She didn't, reply right away. She needed to think. Emma didn't don on fancy dresses. Her wardrobe had always been practical, neutral, professional. After all, who was she dressing for? She opened her closet that evening like she was choosing an armor, but nothing felt right. And then she saw Ita, the deep green wrap dress tucked in the very back, nearly forgotten. Her mother, team at seas. It had survived 5 apartment moves and a decade of disuse. She held it up carefully. It wasn't a tunt flashy, but it felt real, like a memory stitched into fabric. She slipped it on, brushed her hair softly over her shoulders, and looked at herself in the mirror. It was no team that the transformation. It was permission. At 6:45 p.m. Her phone buzzed again. Hey, wait, Tim, outside. No rush. She peeked out the window and blinked. There was no town car, no driver in a suit. It was Ethan, behind the wheel of a quiet silver sedan. No tie, just a navy coat over a gray sweater. Waiting. She opened the door slowly. He stepped out and smiled, not the polished PR smile he wore in interviews, but something gentler, less rehearsed. Oh, you look, he began, then paused. Oh, you look like yourself. Akya. Emma. TM's. Cheeks warmed. Akyo, thanks. So do you. He held the passenger door open. The drive was quiet at first, filled only with the soft hum of the heater and the muted rhythm of the city passing by. Then gradually, they spoke, not about earnings reports or staff memos, but music, books. Why she always stayed late. Oh, I guess the silence helps me think. Oh, she said. Oh, when no one out, TM's watching. I can just breathe. Ethan nodded. Oh, same. Oh. She looked over, surprised. Oh, you silence. He smiled faintly. Oh, I've been surrounded by noise my whole life. Media, meetings, expectations. But the quiet itu is the only place I feel like Tom, not performing. They pulled up to a small restaurant tucked between 2 brownstones. Warm lights glowed from inside, soft and golden. Oh, this is my favorite place. he said. Oh, no. One ever expects to find me here. The hostess greeted him by name and led them to a private corner booth, half hidden behind a curtain of trailing plants and shelves filled with old novels. It didna, TM, feel like a billionaire ATM's table. It felt like a secret. They sat down. The menu was handwritten, no cameras, no business associates in sight. Emma ordered pasta. Ethan chose soup and a slice of fresh bread. Their drinks came in mismatched glasses. It felt disarming, ordinary, and somehow sacred. Halfway through her plate, Emma said softly, "Oh, you... Not what I expected." He looked up. "What did you expect?" "Oh, colder, scarier, like everyone at the office says. Oh." He smiled faintly. No trace of offense. "Oh, Tim, were not entirely wrong." She tilted her head. "Oh, no. Oh." He shook his head. "Oh, Tim, have been cold. And yes, damn, the scared people. Sometimes that damn is the only way to be heard in rooms that don't let them up to want to listen. But that damn is not all of me." He paused, watching her carefully. What people stop looking after a while. They only see the title. Emma stirred her pasta. That TMs. What itao TMs like being invisible. Different version. Same loneliness. As their eyes met, and for a moment, they did look away. Ethan leaned back. "Oh, can I tell you something strange, oh?" She nodded. "Oh, the night I saw you dance. I have no in." Stop thinking about it. Not in a romantic way at first. Just the way you moved. Like you remembered something you did be lost. Emma looked down. Her voice, barely above a whisper, said, "Oh, well, that moment reminded me of who I used to be before everything else got loud." "Oh," he nodded. "What reminded me of something I forgot, too." After dinner, they walked along the quiet street beside the river. The air was cold, but not harsh, the kind of cold that wakes you up gently. "Oh, I had a good time," Emma said, hands in her coat pockets. "Oh, so did I," Ethan replied. "Oh, well, more than I expected." They stopped under a street lamp. The silence between them was awkward. It was delicate. Ethan looked at her carefully, like weighing something fragile. "Ah, Emma. This doesn't what tea feel like just dinner?" She nodded. "Oh, no. It doesn't tea?" He took a breath, then stepped back, just slightly. "Why donna, Tim, to want to rush this?" So he said, "Oh, why donna, Tim, to want to mess it up?" Emma, Tim's heart ached, but in a good way, like muscles stretching after too long still. "Okay. Oh, won't," she whispered. "They'd not go up an ape. Kiss?" But in that pause, in that almost, was something electric. She watched him walk away, hands in his pockets, shoulders curved just enough to betray that even the strongest men carry their past in quiet ways. And for the first time in years, Emma smiled like someone who had just been seen. Not noticed, not observed, seen. The next day passed like any other, at least on the surface. Emma returned to her desk, resumed her usual tasks, and kept her head down. Though her mind was far from still, every movement, every click of her keyboard, every step down the hallway, carried a new weight, a quiet awareness. A sense that something had shifted. It was, to me, a romance. Not yet. It wasn't at even a beginning, really. But it was something. Ethan didn't email her that day. Did name ditat summon her for any briefings. And though a part of her wondered if she had imagined the entire dinner, the warmth in his eyes when he spoke to her lingered like a whispered melody. On the third day, he passed her desk, on the way to a meeting. He paused. "Oh, coffee?" he asked, voice just low enough to be meant for her ears only. Emma blinked. "You, now, oh," he gave the slightest nod. "You, 15 minutes. Upstairs terrace." She nodded once. At 10:45 sharp, she stepped out onto the top floor terrace and normally reserved for board meetings and rare VIP events. Ethan was already there. 2 mugs in hand, the skyline unfolding quietly behind him. The wind tugged gently at his sleeves. He handed her a cup. They didn't. Tem. Sit at the table. Instead, they leaned against the railing, shoulder to shoulder, watching the city move below. "Uwa, do you ever wonder?" he said after a long silence. "How many parts of yourself you Tem have given up just to function Iwo?" Emma out TM's fingers tightened slightly around the warm ceramic. She didn't know. "Team Alma?" Answer right away. Then, softly, "All the time?" He nodded, as if that was exactly what Team Aldidi expected her to say. "Okay. There are TM's this version of me everyone knows?" He continued. "Oh, sharp, strategic, efficient. But that tech TM? Just the version that got promoted?" "Ah!" Emma let out a faint laugh. "Oh, and the other versions." "Oh." They helped TM get quieter. "Oh," we said. "Ah, less impressive. Not so useful in boardrooms." She looked down at the swirling coffee in her mug. "Oh, used to write." "Oh," she said. He turned slightly, surprised. "Oh, really, she nodded. "Poetry? When I was younger, I used to think words could fix things, or at least explain them." "Oh, you You stop. Oh, well." She shrugged. "Yeah, life got practical. Well, he didn't. We TM dig press. Instead, he offered a truth of his own. "Yeah, used to paint." "We too," he said. Emma TM's eyebrows rose. "Iwi you, ape." He smiled. "Ibu, just landscapes. Never showed anyone. It was something my mother encouraged." Oh, do you still? No, he said. "Oh, I have, now TM, touched a brush in over 15 years. Silence fell again. But it was out, empty. It was reflective. Emma turned to him. "Oh, do you miss it?" He didn't TM to answer right away. Then, quietly, "Miss who I was when I did it." That stayed with her. The next week passed in gentle waves. No declarations, no dramatics, just moments. A shared glance in the hallway, a quiet smile during a morning check-in, a late-night email that ended with something unexpected like, "Hope you got some rest." And then one evening, just after 6, as Emma was organizing the next day, TM. Briefing. Her phone buzzed. Message from Ethan. "Oh, whoa, still. Working there. TM's. A piano bar 2 blocks from here. Not fancy. Just live music and real people. Would you come? Ah." She stared at the message, heart catching in her throat. 5 minutes later, she was in a cab. He was waiting outside the door when she arrived, hands in his coat pockets. Posture relaxed in a way she Mimp had never seen at the office. Inside, the bar was dimly lit, cozy, filled with soft jazz and people who did the mod tamstoked, glanced twice at a billionaire CEO or the woman beside him. They sat in a booth near the back, no cameras, no expectations, just music. A woman at the piano began to play something soft and slow. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, then leaned forward. "Oh, this song. Oh," he said. "Oh, me mom used to hum it when she cooked." Emma smiled gently. Mine, too. Only she couldn't, sing, but she tried." He laughed, really laughed, and the sound startled both of them. They sat for hours, talking not like coworkers, not like strangers stepping into something new, but like two people who had lived entire lives before meeting and had finally found someone who understood what that meant. They did not hold hands. They did not kiss. But by the time they left, the air between them had changed. It wasn't you, metite, about roles or risk anymore. It was about recognition. They were no longer just Ethan Grant and Emma Carter. They were two hearts beginning to speak again. It started with a photo, a grainy, slightly tilted image captured from across the street, through the window of a dimly lit piano bar. Two people in a booth. A man leaning forward, smiling in a way that didn't buat me dao match his usual boardroom stiffness. A woman across from him, her eyes soft, her posture open. The caption was simple. A wise that Ethan Grant on a date. Ew. By 9:00 a. the next morning, the office was buzzing. Emma walked into the building the way she always did, quietly, with her bag tucked under her arm, head slightly down, but she felt it immediately. The shift in the air. Whispers, glances, laughter that cut off too quickly when she passed. She kept her gaze forward and moved straight to her desk. Her inbox was full, but her attention snagged on a message with no subject line from an internal distribution account. Yuwa TM. I trending in the break room. I. Her chest tightened. At 10:22 a.m., a coworker from HR passed by and gave her a look, a strange mixture of curiosity and disapproval. By lunch, the photo had made its way onto a corporate gossip page. Comments ranged from speculative to cruel. Oh, looks like someone finally cracked the Ice King. Oh, thirsty much. Carter, guess being invisible. Pays off if you land a billionaire. Emma sat frozen at her desk, fingers hovering above her keyboard, unsure what to do next. At 2:30 p.m., she was summoned. The HR office was cold, intentionally so. A woman named Judith, clipboard in hand, motioned for Emma to sit. TM. Vive had a few questions raised. Judith began, tapping the pen against her notes. About extracurricular contact with Mr. Grant. Emma T's throat tightened. We had dinner. That TMM. All. Judith raised an eyebrow. You do understand there are policies about personal relationships within the executive branch, regardless of status. Emma felt heat rise in her face. And nothing happened. It was one dinner. Judith jotted something down, then looked up with an expression that could have been pity or judgment. Tim, I'll receive formal notice by tomorrow. In the meantime, that TM, we're asking that you work remotely. Emma stood slowly, heart pounding in her ears. I being fired. Judith didn't, to answer. That afternoon, Emma packed her things quietly. No one spoke to her. A few people glanced up and then quickly looked away. By the time she reached the elevator, her eyes stung. She didn't want to cry in the lobby. So she didn't but the tears came later, at home, when the adrenaline wore off and the silence returned. She thought about calling him Ethan, but something stopped her. Fear, maybe, or pride, or the aching realization that no matter how sincere something feels, the world might always be louder. At 6:03 p.m., as she zipped up the last of her files, she heard footsteps in the hallway. She turned. Ethan stood there, his coat half-buttoned, eyes filled with something between regret and fire. Why didn't I? Do you tell me? He asked. Emma shook her head. Didn't I? Teep ma. Want to be the reason things got complicated. He stepped closer. You, Teep ma are not the complication. Emma. You, Taoam, are the only part of this that makes sense. She looked down, trying to hold on to the last fragments of control. Oh, we want but let them do this to you. Ooh, he said, voice firmer now. Ooh, donawao, TMT, care what it costs. Just as the words left his mouth, a voice echoed from behind. Oh, Grant, the board is waiting. They both turned. His assistant stood by the elevator, clipboard in hand, expression unreadable. Ethan glanced back at Emma. Wait for me, he said. Then he was gone. And Emma stood there, holding her bag, her breath, and a thought that had begun as a whisper, but now rang loudly in her mind. What if this was the beginning of the end? 3 days passed. No calls, no messages, no emails, just silence. Emma had, GTM, expected Ethan to fix everything. Not really, but part of her had hoped he would knock on her door, or at least send a single line that said, "Oh, Dama, still here. Ah," but nothing came. She stayed in her small apartment, curtains drawn, the world outside muffled like she was underwater. Her laptop sat closed on the kitchen table. Her phone stayed face down on the couch, buzzing occasionally, with notifications she did not. Mad T, check. On the first night, she did na, TM, cry. She felt numb, stunned, like the impact had na, TM, landed yet. By night 2, the stillness began to ache. By night 3, it felt like abandonment. She told herself she needed time, and she did. But the waiting was a wound she didn't know how to bandage. She missed him, not just the man who stood in boardrooms and signed decisions with a flourish, but the quiet version. The one who brought her coffee on the rooftop, the one who remembered songs, the one who listened without interrupting. She missed feeling seen. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his penthouse office, the city stretching endlessly beneath his window, and for the first time in years, he didn't care about the view. He hadn't slept, barely eaten. He kept replaying that hallway moment in his head, the look in her eyes when she said, "Oh, I didn't know TM, to want to be the reason things got complicated." He had promised to protect her, and he had failed. The board was unrelenting. They'd made their position clear. We'll withdraw. Distance yourself. Deny the relationship, or step aside. Every suggestion from PR had the same soulless rhythm. Will minimize, deflect, move on. But Ethan could not attempt because the image that haunted him most was na the headlines, or the whispers in the office, or even Judith TM's cold stare in HR. It was Emma, barefoot on the conference room floor, laughing softly to herself, like she done forgotten the world could hurt. He picked up his phone, typed 3 different messages, deleted them all, because what could he say? Yo, dying, sorry, I didn't mom, to stop them, sorry, the world is cruel to people like you. No apology seemed big enough, and the truth he couldn't to us to bear to face was this: he didn't know how to fix this without breaking something else. Across the city, Emma stood on her fire escape, arms wrapped around herself, the wind teasing at the edges of her sleeves. She hadn't danced since that night. She hadna listened to music. Hadna allowed herself anything that felt too much like joy, because joy now felt like betrayal. A car horn below startled her, and she stepped back inside. Everything felt fragile. And yet, beneath all that fear, something in her refused to disappear again. She had been invisible for so long. And now, she'd tasted what it meant to be real. even if it cost her everything. She glanced at her phone, still nothing. But this time, instead of waiting, she turned it off and breathed. For the first time in days, it arrived on a rainy Thursday. A small, plain cardboard box. No return address. Just her name scrawled in tidy script, Emma Carter. She found it resting against her door when she returned from the corner market, where she goked a TM deed, gone not because she needed groceries, but because she needed to feel like she still belonged somewhere. She brought the box inside, set it gently on her kitchen table, and stared at it for several long minutes before opening it. Inside, photographs, yellowed and soft at the edges, a stack of letters, tied with worn ribbon, a folded cloth napkin embroidered with faded roses, and a CD, old, scratched, but still intact. Someone had written on it in careful cursive were kitchen songs. Her breath caught. This was TM made from a stranger. It was from her grandmother. The woman who had raised her when her parents left. The woman who hummed Ella Fitzgerald while stirring pasta. The woman who believed in beauty even when life gave them none. Emma sat down slowly, the room quiet except for the tick of the old wall clock. She pulled out one of the letters. It was dated over a decade ago. Her grandmother Wo, TM's handwriting, flowed in soft loops. Oh, Emma, if you, Diem. Rereading this, it means life has bent you a little, maybe even broken you. But I want to remind you of something the world will try to make you smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. But you, my girl, were born to fill a room. Even if that room is empty, even if you have to dance alone. Emma pressed the letter to her chest, tears slipping down her cheek without resistance, not sobbing, not dramatic, just quiet release. She opened the CD case, surprised to find an old USB tucked inside. Curious, she plugged it into her laptop. There were only 4 songs. She clicked the first, We'll Fly, Me to the Moon. The version she loved, the one she Tai Tiem danced to that night in the office, the one that started everything. As the music began to play, Emma closed her eyes, and for a moment, the years fell away. She was 7 again, twirling barefoot on linoleum while her grandmother clapped along. She was 16, scribbling poems in a worn notebook. She was 25, turning down a dance scholarship to keep working 2 jobs. She was 36. Dancing alone in a glass-walled conference room. Because it was the only place she felt like herself again. She opened her eyes and stood, not to work, not to run, but to move, slowly at first, then with more certainty. She danced, not perfectly, not gracefully, but honestly, right there, in her tiny apartment, arms raised, eyes wet, heart open, because she realized something no headline, no whisper, no cold boardroom could take from her. She still had herself, and that was enough to begin again. When the song ended, she sat by the window, breath steady, hair loose around her shoulders. She picked up her phone, turned it on, and scrolled past the missed calls and unread messages. One stood out, a name she had titas seen in years. It was a neighbor from her childhood building. Oh, Wemma, your grandmother left something with me months ago. Said you might need it one day. Call me if you are nearby. She replied immediately. That evening, she walked 5 blocks to the old building, heart thudding softly in her chest. The bricks looked smaller now, but the door still creaked the same. The neighbor, Mr. Finliao, was waiting in the hallway with a warm smile and a brown paper-wrapped box. Oh, she said, it was time you remembered who you were. he told her. Emma held the box close all the way home. Inside an old journal, blank pages interspersed with scribbled poems and recipes, a faded Polaroid of her as a child, grinning mid-spin, and a second note. All love always finds its way back, but only if you donate calm. Slam every door on it. That night, Emma sat on the floor, journal open, pen in hand, and she wrote, not to fix anything, not to explain herself, but to remember, to reclaim, to begin. Ethan had always trusted patterns. He built his empire on them, iwi stock trends, market behavior, human predictability, and when something didn't yogit fit, he noticed. What happened to Emma didn't fit, not just the scandal, not the HR coldness, not even the timing. It was the precision, too clean, too fast, too strategic. Someone had been waiting. He sat alone in his office at 1:12. Sleeves rolled, tie discarded. The building was dark, except for the dim glow from his desk lamp. He scrolled through internal emails, camera logs, and meeting minutes from the past 6 months. It was not suspicion anymore. It was instinct. That's he is when he found it. A request logged 2 weeks before the AWOW incident. A security override signed by R. S. Whitmore, Vice Chair of the Board, Access Executive Surveillance Feed, Location Conference Level, Duration 24 hours. Justification, Performance Compliance Review. Ethan sat back in his chair, heart pounding slowly. Whitmore, old school, power-driven, relentless, the kind of man who smiled for shareholders but sharpened knives behind closed doors. TM served on the board since the company. TM's founding back when Ethan, TM, father still ran the show. He always seemed to resent that Ethan, the son, had taken control. And now he had struck. Ethan rose from his chair, retrieved a locked file from his cabinet, and opened the internal server logs. His fingers flew across the keyboard. He cross-checked the camera timestamps from the night he saw Emma dance. There it was. Footage duplicated, downloaded, redirected, and not by accident, a trail of access logs, private meetings, an internal memo staff, all with Whitmore or TM's signature, painted the truth they'o TMD. Been watching for months. Not Emma. Him. She had just been the perfect excuse. At 3:04, Ethan made a decision. He called someone he had one time spoken to in nearly 4 years. Kara Linwood, investigative journalist, former friend, a voice too honest for corporate comfort. The last time she published a piece on West Tech, it cost the company a multi-million-dollar PR crisis. Hiao TM. Do. Shut her out. Now he needed her. He sent her a secure folder. Subject line, a Y was wrong. You all want this. 30 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Kara, will meet me in 2 hours. Bring her. This story is not what Tim, just yours anymore. Worst across town. Emma stood in the center of her living room, journal still open. When her phone lit up, Ethan Grant. She stared at the screen, then answered, Emma. His voice came through the line, breathless but steady. We need to see you. Now. There. TM's. Something you need to know. She did not speak. Just listened. I was blind. He continued. Well, but not anymore. This wasn't, just about you and me. They planned this. They used you to get to me. Her heart sank. Who? Whitmore. Silence. Meet me. He said. There, someone I want you to hear this from. 2 hours later, they sat in the corner of a cafe Emma had never been to before. Kara Linwood looked exactly how Emma expected. Sharp eyes, soft voice, no time for nonsense. She scanned the files quickly, expression unreadable. Then finally, she looked up. This is enough to blow half your boardroom off the map. Ethan nodded once. Oh, that TM is the idea? Kara turned to Emma. Oh, you okay, being part of this? Oh, Emma took a breath. Oh, I want no. To let them use me to silence him. Oh, she said. Tell the truth, all of it. Kara nodded, lips curling into something almost like respect. Oh, this will not to us nig. Just shake your company, Yoshi warned. Oh, Ida, to twim, I'll burn it down. Ethan, didna, flinch. Ew then, let it. Emma reached for his hand beneath the table. No headlines yet, no redemption arc, just two people, ready to fight back. Together. The boardroom had never felt colder. 12 seats, 12 faces, all familiar, all unreadable. Polished suits, careful postures, the subtle scent of control in the air. Ethan stood at the head of the long glass table, unshaven, without a tie, sleeves rolled to his forearms like a man who stopped pretending to be pristine. Beside him, Emma sat, not behind him, not waiting outside, but at the table, eyes steady, back straight. He didn't. Team B, speak immediately. He let the silence stretch. Then, without theatrics, he reached into his coat pocket and set a single object in the center of the table. A flash drive, no threat, just truth. This contains a log of unauthorized surveillance activity conducted by Vice Chair Whitmore over the past 6 months. Like he said, voice calm but cutting. Including footage misused to orchestrate my removal and to target an employee who had no part in your politics. He turned to Emma briefly. Also, she was collateral. Os, he continued, facing the room again. Osua, scapegoat for your fear of losing control. Osu Whitmore, did not timiti flinch. His voice came smooth, rehearsed. Oh, these are serious accusations, Ethan, and highly emotional. Ethan, TM's jaw tightened, but he didn't. TM, raised his voice. What I, TN's emotional. He said. He always watching good people be destroyed to protect bad systems. Another board member cleared his throat. Leita o umez, not spiral into drama. There are rules for a reason. Whoa. There are rules. Ethan interrupted. And then there are tactics. What you did wasn't that enforcement. It was sabotage, surveillance footage, fabricated misconduct. You used a woman all TMS dignity as a weapon. That TNIP, son, not policy. That TM cowardice. A pause followed, sharp, heavy. Then someone spoke from the far end of the table. A quiet voice, older, measured. Oh, do you have evidence? Oh, Ethan pressed a button on the table. TTM dots control panel. A screen flickered to life. Audio played. Whitmore off TM's voice. Crisp, unmistakable. Donu, TM. Worry. TMV, already set the trap. He, TM, all fall. And she, TM, all fall with him. Silence. Emma died. TM, blink. Whitmore leaned forward, voice tight. That could, dim, have been altered. The door opened behind them. Carolyn Wood stepped in, flanked by a digital forensics expert. It was na wood TM, boo, she said simply. We want tam vau, verified the origin, timestamps, metadata, it dao, TM's authentic. And yo, TM va, got a bigger problem now. Idao, TM's going public. So gasps, shifting chairs. One member stood abruptly. Another cursed under his breath. Ethan waited, watching. And when the noise quieted, he spoke again. We spent 10 years building this company. And in that time, Tom, I sacrificed more than I should. Tom, Baha. But I won. Toa sacrifice the truth. Not anymore. He pulled out a folded sheet of paper and placed it beside the flash drive. Oh, my resignation, he said.
Effective immediately. More gasps. Whitmore looked stunned. Oh, you, TM. Walk away? Just like that. Oh. Ethan looked at Emma, then back to the board. TM. Rather walk away than be part of something that erases the very people who keep it alive.
He turned to leave, then paused. One last thing. He looked straight at Whitmore. She was... TM. A scandal. She was a mirror. And that terrified you. He walked out. Emma followed. In the hallway, outside the thick boardroom doors, they stopped. He turned to her, breath unsteady but eyes fierce. You don't know, Tom? Have to stay in this. We said. Are you? Not for me. Emma stepped closer. Tom. Not here for the company. Woo, she said. Weem. Ma'am, here because no one ever fought for me before. They didn't. Damn. Tut kiss. Not yet, but the way they stood together. Defiant, unshaken was louder than any speech could be, because sometimes the boldest truth is now TMM. What you say, ite TMMs, who you stand beside. The headlines hit within hours. AWA CEO Ethan Grant resigns amid surveillance scandal. Exposes boardroom manipulation. Awo. The secretary who dared to dance ow, and the billionaire who chose her overpower. But Emma didn't TM'd read the articles. She didn't TMT scroll through the comments, or check how many times her name was trending. Instead, she walked. Down the same city streets she once tried to disappear into. Past the windows where people still whispered, she walked with her head up, not because everything was okay, but because she was okay, across the city. Ethan stood in his now empty apartment. The walls that once made him feel powerful now felt quiet, honest. He looked out at the skyline, not as a ruler, but as a man with nothing left to prove, and everything left to build. That weekend, he launched something new. Not another corporation, not another board, but a foundation, Grant Light. A fund for small, underrepresented creators and entrepreneurs, or those who TM'd been overlooked, dismissed, told they didn't TM belong. Emma joined him, not as a symbol, not as a side note, but as his partner, his equal. Together, they created something fueled not by profit, but by people. The first event they hosted was a fundraiser for Women Abosh TM's shelters. No press, no suits, no scripts, just stories. And at the very end of the night, as the last guests filed out, Emma stepped onto the empty wooden floor. The old jazz song played through the speakers, Fly Me to the Moon. She took off her shoes and danced, not for anyone else, just for herself. Ethan watched from the back of the room, hands in his pockets, a soft smile touching the corners of his mouth. No camera captured it, no gossip followed. It was simply real. Months later, they stood together on a quiet beach, the sky painted in golds and blues, no reporters, no boardrooms. Just the sound of waves and the soft hush of two lives finally exhaling. Ethan reached for her hand. Who do you regret it? Rurau, he asked. Emma turned to him. Oh, not for a second. Oh, she said. He nodded. Oh, neither. Oh. They stood in silence. Then Ethan laughed, a low, gentle sound. Funny how it started with a dance. Who? Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. No, she whispered. It started the moment someone chose to really see me. He wrapped his arm around her, and together, They watched the tide roll in. They didn't need a perfect ending, because what they had was better. A beginning. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is show up as yourself. In a world that often rewards silence over sincerity and image over truth, Itao wo shaft ttm as easy to shrink, to fold your dreams away, to move through life unnoticed, until even you forget the sound of your own heart. But this story reminds us being seen, truly seen, is not just a romantic idea. Ito's a basic human need. Emma wasn't timid, searching for attention. She was searching for herself. And Ethan, beneath all the wealth and armor, was just a man who had forgotten how to feel. Together, they did find perfection. They found honesty. You don't have to dance in a conference room or fall in love with a billionaire to reclaim your voice. You just have to stop apologizing for who you are. So if you in a season of life where the world feels quieter, or you feel smaller than you used to be, remember this. It's never too late to be seen, and it's never too late to start again. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, you're even just a little, please consider giving it a like, sharing it with someone who might need it, and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue telling stories that matter. And remember sometimes, all it takes is one moment to change everything.